Okay, so when you're a kid, I don't know, let's go with 10 years old. When you watch movies or you'll get comic books. When you were 10 and you got comic books and it was Spider-Man. Or when I was 12, approximately 11 or 12, I read the first book in the whole shit show. Star Wars, the original. I read the book. Luke Skywalker, C-3PO, and R2-D2 were the main characters. Two droids and a boy. I can't tell you anything other than, when I'm reading about, Luke Skywalker, who's, not that much older than me, maybe 5 years older than me, and he's learning how to use a lightsaber and all this other stuff from Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like when I'm reading it, I'm 12 years old and I'm like listening in. I'm like Luke Skywalker's, little brother. Because Luke is there, he's learning about all this stuff, and it's like, well, I'm paying attention to what he's doing because I want to learn how to use a lightsaber and I want to do all these things. Because at 10 years old, your imagination is already ruined. It is. Because when I was 11 or 12 years old reading that book, Star Wars, I already knew that it was impossible for us humans to do anything supernatural. Impossible. Science says anything supernatural in comic books or movies is impossible, categorically impossible. It's impossible. It's just as impossible as breaking the speed of light. It's impossible. Ask Einstein, you cannot go faster than the speed of light. Period. And you cannot do superpowers, you stupid kid. By the time I read Star Wars, I knew humans don't do anything supernatural. So it becomes you becoming an audience kind of person who reads fiction. And, when I was 11 or 12 years old, that was long before the first computer at home with the internet. The first computer at school that I had access to use that was teaching computer was a Commodore PET computer that arrived in grade 8. And it was barely used. It wasn't until high school that we got more use out of the Commodore PET computer. And it is still a fantastic computer for learning all about computers. So, anyways, it would be 2 years before I saw a desktop computer for the first time. But still, at the time when that Star Wars book came out, I was fully brainwashed into being a muggle. So, the indoctrination process of humans starts before you're 11 years old. And the indoctrination again and again and again is you are a muggle and we do not have superpowers. And we have these fictional things that are entertainment, movies and books. But if it's marked fiction or people are doing things that are strange, it's not real. It's just imagination. And humans can never put imagination into reality. Period. Imagination is daydreaming, and you will not daydream in class. Anyways, if they didn't indoctrinate you, then kids would naturally try to do superpowers. Now, I'm sure there's lots of people that were kids that tried to do superpowers. So was it all wrong to be brainwashed to be a muggle? In other words, is it possible that we really do have the capability of doing superpowers? The answer is absolutely categorically yes. The spiritual literature does talk about spiritual superpowers. They're called siddhis, Siddhi. It's an ancient word from India. So, passed down is information that says that, people can get these spiritual superpowers. You first have to deprogram yourself from being a muggle, and that's impossible. Because before 11 years old, you're already programmed to be a muggle. From Harry Potter, that is Harry Potter's uncle, who is a non-magical beast. But, if you're a kid and you weren't brainwashed, would you be able to develop spiritual superpowers, just hanging around the neighborhood? No. Because there's a specific way to develop spiritual superpowers. You have to follow. If you're going to go and learn karate, you got to go to the dojo. If you want to learn spiritual superpowers, then you've got to find somebody who's exceptionally spiritual. And they're exceptionally rare. Do you see John Kreese using spiritual superpowers when he's doing karate? No. So even somebody who's incredibly talented at martial arts, it doesn't mean that he's got spiritual superpowers. And even though, sometimes they show the master, doing a karate chop through, 6 bricks or something. I think at that point it starts becoming, is that, something I could do? Or is that something that anybody could do? Or is that guy an attained adept? How do you become an attained adept? Well, Luke Skywalker didn't even have to go looking because the adept came to him. Obi-Wan Kenobi. In Star Wars, people who are capable of developing spiritual superpowers are said to have more something called metachlorians in their blood than the average person. So it seems that genetics has a place in the Star Wars canon as far as developing spiritual superpowers. Is it true for humans that there are genetic um, things that make you more adept and genetic things that make you less adept? No. There is nothing in human blood corresponding to metachlorians that has anything to do with anything in reality. In other words, every person has equal opportunity to develop spiritual superpowers. Because this is what the literature says, passed on down. Nothing is mentioned about, type A blood getting this and not type B blood or anything like that. So you can throw all that garbage out the window, but people, I don't know, RH factor gives you some this, that. It's a bullshit thing. It's elitism. I was born with the right blood and you were. Too bad, so sad. Get my lights. Fuck off. Doesn't work that way. So, if you're going to develop spiritual superpowers, where might you find an adept if one doesn't just walk, up your driveway and knock on your door? Brett Beeson the Devil says you could maybe go see a Zen Roshi. Well, here in Thunder Bay, Ontario, there ain't no such thing as a Zen Roshi. Anybody else have any idea who an adept might be? Here in my town, Thunder Bay, Canada. Well, there is a Buddhist monk, outside of town at Arrow River. And I've met him, and he doesn't have spiritual superpower. I did talk to somebody who has a karate school in town about another issue. I wanted to see if he could do like an oversouling of me to help me get rid of the demonic attacks, and he said he didn't know how to do that. So I don't know. There's nobody in my city who knows how to do spiritual superpowers. So there's no adept in Thunder Bay, as far as I know, who people can go to learn how to do that. Except me, because I am an adept through long years of practice. Can I do spiritual superpowers? Yes. Do you want a miracle? I don't know. Because if you read the Bible, I was reading the book of Luke about Jesus. At one point, Jesus was taken to Herod Antipas, who was a king of a portion of modern-day Israel. And Herod asked Jesus, "Perform a miracle for me." Jesus didn't talk to Herod Antipas at all, according to Luke. So can you come and see me and train under me to become an adept in order to do spiritual superpowers? No. Or yes. I don't. Nobody's asked me. You want me to demonstrate a miracle? I swear I can't do it. Because I don't do the miracles. God does miracles. It even says, again, in parts of Luke, that, after Jesus, was found missing from the tomb, the story is that there were some, of his friends that were walking down the road and they're very forlorn because, Jesus was dead. And he was walking along beside them all of a sudden. A stranger on the road who started talking to them, asking them why the long faces, and they said, well, Jesus is dead. And he talked for quite some time, and they walked. The next thing you know, they're in their village, and they look at Jesus and said, "Have you had something to eat, Jesus?" And he said, "No." Well, they said, "Come on in, we'll get you something to eat." And they go inside, and they give Jesus some broiled fish. And for information on broiled fish, look to like 2 videos ago of mine. Because I talk about Jesus and the fish and the strange story about what I read in the Gideon's version of, the Holy Bible. Here, that's what I've been using. So, let's see. Well, the next thing you know is they give Jesus some broiled fish, and he has something to eat. And then, somewhere along the line, it says, when Jesus is walking along with his friends, God made it so they didn't recognize him, Jesus. And then, when Jesus was eating the fish, God let them see that it was indeed their friend Jesus. They saw him, and at the exact moment they recognized, it's you! He disappeared. Jesus disappeared. Just as they were realizing that he was alive, and he just vanished. But it said, it was God that did that joke. So in the end, it's all God that does everything, including torturing me. And it doesn't seem very fair to me that God tortures me. Because for me, God stands for good. And me looking at being tortured for somebody's phony baloney TV show is beyond horrible. Well, it's just that, Anshar TV, Corey Good of Sphere Being Alliance, tells you that Anshar, a group of people, watch us on TV. Old man Anshar is 1,000 years old and he watches us on TV, according to Corey Good. Sounds like Anne Rice in her book about Lestat and Atlantis, where he says that there's another group of people. He says, I was just hijacked again, because it wasn't he, it was Anne Rice that said that in your book. She's a she as far as I know, unless she's become a he. Lestat and Atlantis. Anne Rice. Well, she said something or other, and Brent Beeson's devil used mind wipe on me again. So when you do find out who this human being is, Brent Beeson, you will come to the same conclusion as everybody else. He is beyond Hannibal Lecter in evil. And the reason I'm being tortured in this stupid game is so that more people that are evil will know that it's okay to be evil, and you can be evil until everybody has outed themselves as evil. That's going to out themselves as evil, at which point they'll all be thrown into the lake of fire. It doesn't seem long and tedious to me after, all this time to still be tortured and still have people arrive on my doorstep that are indeed exceptionally evil. Leon Shelby showed up today. He calls himself, part of the Galactic Federation of Light, but he ain't. He's a devil. So anyways, he was exposed, vetted for the beings that, are vetting people. And so far, he has not passed. Others. If Leon's watching, I'm sorry, Leon, you never passed. You have shitty intuition. If you had good intuition, you would know who I am. Why doesn't God give you good intuition? Because whatever the fuck you're doing, Leon, is not raising your consciousness on the scale of human consciousness. So, Leon, if you're watching, that's what you need to do. Anyways, it's time for me to get something to drink. So, studying under an adept in order to get spiritual superpowers. Do you need to be physically with me in order to get spiritual superpowers? No. Is it advantageous to be around me? Yes. David R. Hawkins said that there is an advantage to be in the physical aura of the teacher. How big is Dr. Hawkins' aura? I don't know. How big is my aura? I don't really know. But Dr. Hawkins also taught us how to become one with the field in a meditation. And if you're one with the field, then the field is everywhere. So you're one with all the people that are embedded in the field. The source fields, let's call them. David Wilcock has got a book called Source Fields Investigations. Is it good? No. Because it's got so much sci-fi in it. And he keeps calling it fiction. So my own cognitive dissonance is triggered when I read David Wilcock's books. Because I am an indoctrinated muggle. And the muggle in me is still there. And it keeps saying, from a muggle's perspective, whatever muggles think about whatever comes up. So how can you? Because despite your monkey mind, my monkey mind still believing I'm a muggle, I've taken this ego mind offline. It's still there. I mean, it's offline as far as controlling the body. Because I did that. Because it was a spiritual teaching from Matt Kahn. And that led to my video that you'll find at the top of Jesus Burrows in the About section that you can click on that brings you to a very easy technique to raise your consciousness by showing you that you can let go of control of the body. That way. So again, miracles are done by God, not people. Not even Jesus. Even though they're attributed to Jesus, God does miracles, period. Is Jesus? No. Jesus was a person who calibrated at 1,000 on the scale of human consciousness. And that's why Jesus called God Abba, Father, God the Father, Abba. So don't get it screwed up, because many people who are stupid say Jesus is God. He's not. They called him teacher in those days. And it said, somewhere I read today, that God was very pleased with Jesus' teachings. Is God pleased with your teachings? I don't think so. He's not pleased with my teachings at all. He's not. I don't get any reward. I don't get any feedback that says, that, I don't get nothing. What do I think of humanity today? Even though David R. Hawkins said that compared to the days of Jesus, the collective of humanity is at a way higher level of consciousness, I don't experience that. I experience a world worse than what Jesus does in those days. Because at least he had people who were friends. Modern day, I see nothing but devils. Technically, people who are under 200 on the scale of human consciousness. It's a disgusting disgrace. If you leave a civilization in the hands of people who are under 540 on the scale of human consciousness, you're going to have nuclear war. Because there's no love driving people when they're under 500. No love. And without love, then people will go to incredible extremes. That we call evil. So, make a long story short, if you want to get spiritual superpowers, you might not ever get them. Because it's up to God. And it's not up to your teacher whether you get them or not. Examples of my spiritual superpowers, well, I don't know, you can look last week when, I don't know, the strobe light thing was going on. I didn't do it, but to me, that was a miracle. Supernatural. And I witnessed it and I filmed it for you. So what does it mean to be? It just simply means somebody who, supernatural things happen around. Well, usually it seems like, and then I don't know. Anyways, those are the words. I didn't write it out in a script. I don't have a script in my hand. I got to put my hand under here because of demonic attack all the time. Why am I demonically attacked? This is another reason you can believe that I'm a true adept. Shouldn't I be adept enough to fend off charges? I don't know. But over and over again, you can see devils attacking me using a remote neural monitoring technology. They're right here listening, just like everybody else. So how you react to this video will be looked at by God. God's expectation for you is to you've got millions and millions of spiritual teachings that tell you what doing the right thing is.